to Daily Focus. I'm glad you're joining me this morning. I'm sorry, yesterday I was in the hospital with a family from our church that had a serious surgery. And so I was not. I tried a couple of times, just did not have a good enough cell signal to do it from there. So again, I apologize, but looking forward to finishing up Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11 is a very historical and yet chock full of principles. And so it's giving us a history lesson. It's also going to introduce us to the forerunner or the example of what the Antichrist is going to do. We find history repeats itself. And what we find in Antiochus IV is going to be repeated when the Antichrist comes on the scene. And so let me read with you in verse number 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, that's Antiochus IV, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flattery. So we find that this is true and indicative of our current day politicians. In other words, they tell you what you want to hear, they promise you what you want to have, and they might even give you some things in order to buy your votes or buy your loyalty. It says, and with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. For he shall come up and shall be strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and the spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. So Antiochus IV, he made these raids on Egypt, and I don't remember, like 167 or something like that BC. He has this incredible victory over Egypt, and so he's able to come back and spoil the Jewish people of Jerusalem, and it's all deceit. In verse 25, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, and he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. So what happens, we know from history, is that Antiochus IV decides, I'm going to go back and take some more stuff from Egypt, but Rome sends some things to help defend, and all of a sudden Antiochus IV is in trouble, and even reports go back to Jerusalem that Antiochus IV has been killed. And of course that's met with all kinds of different emotions from different people, depending on whether they were supporting him because of what he was promising or even giving them, compared to those people of God who were being persecuted for standing for truth and doing what was right. And verse 26, and they shall feed of the portion of his meat and shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain, and both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for the end shall be at the time appointed. So he makes this treaty with the Ptolemy dynasty in Egypt, but they come to the table for the treaty, and they're both lying. Boy, doesn't that sound very familiar today? It sounds like Palestine and Israel. It sounds like China and Hong Kong. It sounds like Russia and Ukraine. It sounds like you've got all of these cries for peace, and somehow but they come to the table and they don't mean anything they're saying. They're still going to try to work the deal for themselves, and if they don't get their way, they're going to fight. And it's nothing new. History repeats itself, and that was the case with Antiochus IV. It's also going to be true of the Antichrist. The most important thing as we come down through here, and we find that Antiochus in 31, the arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary. He goes in and he turns then against the people of God in Jerusalem, and he plunders them, and he takes artifacts from the holy city and from the temple, and he pollutes the sanctuary of strength and shall take away the daily sacrifice in verse 31, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. In other words, in order for the devil to actually get his work done, he always has to have a few people of God who are willing, that lack integrity, who are willing to go along. It doesn't matter whether it is a disgruntled person in the church. If he's going to really create division, he's got to find some people of God to actually be carnal enough to go along with it in order to divide it, to disrupt it, to do whatever he's trying to do to destroy it. And that's true. I think that it's crazy how people who should know better end up falling prey. Well, how do they fall prey to that? Through flatteries, through promises, through deceit. That's how it happens. Well, that's exactly verse 32. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. In other words, those people that aren't really serious about the things of God, are not really serious about the plan of God, aren't really committed to the purposes of God, and don't claim the promises of God. These people who are carnal are easily deceived by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits, and they shall understand among the people and shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by the flame and by captivity and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little hope, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. In other words, it's just crazy how when tribulation comes, people want to take the path of least resistance. But those who are truly committed are willing to stand. And then verses 36 all the way to the end of the chapter. I'm not going to read it for sake of time, but I want you to know that that is going to be then prophetic, taking what we learn about Antiochus IV and then watching it played out in the prophetic passage about the antichrist. And the thing that I think I really want to zero in on, and that is this. You're going to be promised a lot of things by the world. You might even be promised some things by your flesh, that this is going to make you happy. This is really going to make you fulfilled. But it's a lie. It's just flattery. It's deceit. And the only thing that's going to last, the only thing that really produces fulfillment and purpose are the things of God, the plans and purposes of God. And so that's, as long as we're following them, we're fulfilling our roles and responsibilities within the designs of God. So God is put on display in his wisdom and he is glorified. Then there is fulfillment there. You try a cheap route that's promised you by the world or by the devil or by your flesh, it's never going to work. But the people of God who are willing to stand, though they may suffer here, they will be fulfilled and they will have fulfillment of purpose. And I'm begging people, when you know God and you know who he is and you've been taught the scriptures, stand there. Don't let people deceive you. Do not let them threaten you away from your stand upon God's word. Be a person of courage. Be a person of integrity. Be willing to suffer for righteousness' sake, if need be. But don't ever waver from truth, no matter what is promised you. And that is the lesson that we learn from the rest of Daniel chapter 11. History will repeat itself down through the years, even all the way to the tribulation period. And deception through flattery will always be a tool of the devil to get people on a wrong path. We've got the truth. We have it at our fingertips. We've got the Spirit of God to convince us of it. So let's determine to stand there for the glory of God. God bless you. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.